Hey there, I'm the MadCatster. Am I glad to see you here? Well, Sniperwolf filed her answer and counterclaims against Evan Sausage in the lawsuit that he has going against her right now. And let me just say, well, it's something else. I've got the deets. I've got all the receipts, so buckle up and let's go. So I'm joined here tonight with my co-host Squeaky, whose real name is Stefan, my deaf cat. Sybil is upstairs. I'm sure she'll come down at some point. Anyways, so Sniperwolf. So remember my last video in this continuing saga of the sausage lawsuit that she had filed a motion to dismiss, which was, well, the craziest thing I've ever seen in terms of a court pleading as an attorney. If you remember, it started off with that caption about gaslighting. I guess they decided not to wait for the court ruling, probably because they realized that the judge is either going to laugh them out of court or he's going to probably not be real happy with the attorneys who wrote that pleading. But they did file an answer and counterclaims, and the counterclaims is the part that's really interesting. And, well, have you ever seen people dance the waltz? Well, let's just say that Leah's counterclaims are sort of like the waltz, but on paper, as they dance around the facts. But when you see this, I think you're going to agree with me that the word of the day is marginalized, kids, because that's what Leah and her attorneys are trying to do to Evan Sausage. First, I would like to just quickly thank a few people. I'd like to thank Pro Model, who bought me 4 coffees from the Buy Me a Coffee link down below. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was like Christmas. We got so much stuff from the Amazon wish list this past week. You guys are so generous. The cats are so excited. So from Carrie C, we got a thing of cat litter. From Anonymous, we got a cat bed. And we also got a nice big container that holds like a big 14-pound bag of cat food. So thank you for that. And I would like to thank Ann C, who sent us a case of wet cat food. And I'd like to give a huge thank you to Lisa and Bear, who sent us a cat bed, a beautiful cat brush, some Temptations treats, a case of Blue Buffalo canned cat food, some more Temptations treats, a case of Purina Friskies pate cat food, a toy ball for the cats to play with that jingles, and then 2 big bags of dry cat food. So thank you guys. Thank all of you, and I hope I didn't mix any of those up because Amazon sends a million slips in these boxes, and I tried to keep them all in the correct order. So if I made a mistake, I apologize. So now let's take a look at what her counterclaim is. And now I've explained before that a counterclaim is basically a lawsuit within a lawsuit. In other words, if somebody sues you, if you think you have claims against them, you could file a counterclaim or a countersuit within the same lawsuit without having to go and start your own lawsuit against them. So they're both handled, even though they're like 2 separate lawsuits, it's within the same case. Okay. So she's filed this counterclaim and answer against Evan Sausage. This is going to be interesting for a couple of reasons I'll explain in a second. But so she's not filing as herself. She's filing it on behalf of Channel Red, which is the parent company of the Sniperwolf brand. It says that Shailesh resides in Maricopa County. She's currently married to Evan Young, who is Sausage. While Shailesh was preparing, this is hysterical here, okay, guys? While Shailesh was preparing to file a petition for dissolution, divorce, so apparently she's claiming she was getting ready to divorce him, Young beat her to the courthouse and filed a petition for dissolution on October 20th, 2022 in Maricopa Superior Court. So that's kind of a comical image. What, he raced her to the courthouse to see who could file for divorce first? I mean, that just sounds so absurd, doesn't it? And it's like either she's bitter because he beat her to it, or I don't know, she actually was in the process of doing it. To me, it sounds like she's bitter, okay? It says Young resides, and they misspelled Sausage's last name. Shame on you, attorneys again. Channel Red LLC is an Arizona limited liability company. Shailesh and Young are co-managers in Channel Red and both own 50% of the membership interest. And Channel Red is a company that they formed basically to funnel all of the Sniperwolf brand stuff through, you know, like the money and everything, and then divide the money up. They each own half of it. So in an LLC, you're called a member, and they're both 50% owners, basically, of the LLC. And it says Shailesh brings this action derivatively on Channel Red's behalf. A demand under the statute would have been futile. Now, this is interesting because in Leah's motion to dismiss, which was my previous video, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. They were saying that Evan Sausage should have made a demand pursuant to this statute that they're citing here before he filed this what's called a derivative lawsuit, which is when one shareholder or part owner of either a company or a condo trust thinks that the company is being harmed by somebody or something. They're supposed to first demand to the board of directors that they fix the problem. And if it doesn't get taken care of, then the part owner can file a lawsuit in the court on behalf of the company. And that's basically what she's doing with her counterclaim. But what I find hysterical is they're saying that filing a demand would have been futile when they ripped Sausage a new one in their motion to dismiss because he didn't make a demand first. I had said when I was talking about her motion that's ridiculous. There's only two of them. The two of them are the board. So what, he was going to make a demand on her? What would be the purpose? He basically had already told her to stop and she didn't. So he's supposed to make a formal demand on her? And what they're saying here is it would have been futile. Well, make up your mind. Is it something that has to be done or not? This really hurts their credibility, I think, because it makes them look ridiculous. Because they're flip-flopping. So it says Shailesh began a YouTube channel in early 2011 utilizing a deviation of the moniker SSSniperwolf, where she posted videos about gaming and video games prior to meeting Young. So now they're setting it up for the fact that, oh, well, she was already Sniperwolf. Shailesh met Young in mid-2013 and the two became romantically involved. They married soon after in 2013. It said Young provided minor assistance. So here they're basically saying, oh, Sausage, he was nothing in this whole thing. He's just a leech, you know. So it said Young provided minor assistance to Shailesh in posting YouTube videos. This drives me crazy. They dance around the facts and they're intentionally vague in everything that they say. Remember, she had her sexy Sniperwolf channel, and then he alleges that he went to her in 2013, I think it was, and suggested that they start the Sniperwolf channel and start this brand, and that he would play the games and she would pretend to play the games and he would write her scripts that she would read. And, you know, we don't know the actual truth because we haven't seen any evidence, but that's what he's saying. And I mean, frankly, compared to the pleadings that she's filed, his complaint was very well put together, I thought, and the chronology and the in-depth explanations he was giving about everything, to me, in my opinion, seems to make sense. It says at the time, the revenue generated from Shailesh's YouTube channels would be deposited into Shailesh's bank accounts, while the revenue generated from Young's YouTube channels would be deposited into his bank accounts. I mean, if she's talking about sexy Sniperwolf and his separate channel, then yes, that makes sense. But according to him, when they started the Sniperwolf main channel, as it exists today, the money was going into his PayPal account, which of course he's going to be able to prove that. He'll have to prove that in court. Why would he say that if he doesn't have the evidence? Whereas they're intentionally being extremely vague. It says, while Young enjoyed moderate success on YouTube, Shailesh became an internationally recognized YouTuber, in quotes, under the moniker SSSniperwolf. And it says currently, both YouTube channels featuring SSSniperwolf and Little Leah, collectively YouTube channels, have millions of followers combined and generate millions of dollars in revenue each year. It says around that point in time, Shailesh and Young began to share their bank accounts, and the revenue from each of the YouTube channels was deposited into their joint accounts. So they're very vague here again. If they're co-owners, and if it's 50-50, then what does it matter that it's going into a joint bank account? But they're trying to set up an allegation here, and you'll see in a minute. It says, on February 8th, 2017, Young, with Shailesh's permission, organized Channel Red. He did organize it in February 2017 with her permission. Well, they started it together. It's not his company. It's their company. And they said, Young, taking advantage of Shailesh's naivete with legal matters. And what, he's an expert? I don't think he's an attorney, if I recall. Appointed himself as co-manager. Well, if they're starting the company together, of course they're going to be co-managers. They each own half the company. So what's their point here? They're trying to make it sound like he duped her into starting this company and giving him half of it. None of this makes sense to me because, again, in my opinion, his laying out of the facts makes total sense to me. This stuff, with the way they waltz around the facts and they put out all this vague nonsense, to me, I have a hard time, number one, following what the hell they're trying to say. But number two, I have a hard time giving them credibility because they're just not being specific enough in what they're talking about. It says, well, each owns 50% of the membership interest. Young and Shalesh never discussed how profits would be split. Come on. If they started the channel together and they're both 50% owners in the company that is behind the brand, it is logical, I think, that they would each get half of the profits, right? And it says, just after Young filed his petition for divorce, he wrestled control of the YouTube channels from Shalesh and Channel Red without their knowledge. Well, I don't think the company would be aware of what's going on since it's not a living entity. He's alleging that she first locked him out of the social media for the Sniperwolf brand. And because she was uploading videos from the Sniperwolf channel that they both owned to her new channels, she was basically using the material they owned together for her own benefit on another channel. So he said that's why he says in his lawsuit, it's not like he's hiding this. He says it right up front in his lawsuit that he locked her out because he didn't want her to keep uploading content that they both owned and making money all by herself off of it when he's entitled to half. Now they're saying he secretly changed the login and password credentials on the YouTube channels to his personal email and password. What that matters, I don't know. Without providing the information to Shalesh. When Shalesh attempted to log into YouTube channel to upload content, she was unable to do so. Yes, and again, he explained why. Shalesh asked Young what was going on and requested the login, and he refused to provide it. Yeah, because he wanted a guarantee from her, according to him, that she would stop taking Sniperwolf content and re-uploading it on these other channels she started overseas, cutting him out of the profits when he, according to him, is entitled to half. He continued to prohibit her from uploading videos and content to the YouTube channels during the most historically lucrative months of the year, meaning, I'm guessing because they filed for divorce in October of 2022, that holiday period. Now, from what I understand, this lockout didn't last very long, and it's not just hurting her, it's hurting him too. It says, indeed, Young's recalcitrance caused Channel Red to miss one of the biggest opportunities of the year regarding sales for apparel and sponsored products because Shalesh and Channel Red could not upload videos to drive sales via YouTube. Channel Red's revenue diminished in 2022 and 2023 because Young prohibited Shalesh from posting videos during critical time period in an effort to mitigate their damages. Okay, now here she's twisting it again. It says, in paragraph 19, in an effort to mitigate the prospective damages to Shalesh's reputation, as well as Channel Red's business and the YouTube channels, Shalesh created new channels which enjoyed immediate success given her tremendous following. Okay, so this contradicts what Evan Sausage said in his lawsuit. She's now claiming that the reason she started these separate channels was because he locked her out of the YouTube channel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our logic caps on and let's think about this for a second. If she created her new channels as a direct result of him locking her out of the Sniperwolf channel, how the hell was she re-uploading Sniperwolf content to her new channels if she no longer had access to the Sniperwolf channel? It makes no sense. Again, it makes no sense at all. If you believe her, well, she went off and had to start these separate channels because he wouldn't let her in. Well, why did she start them in overseas markets? That makes no sense. I, in my opinion, believe his version and chronology over this. And that's just my opinion. It says, however, Young, without any basis, continued to copyright strike the new channels, forcing Google to remove the YouTube videos before they gained any traction, causing even further damage to Channel Red. Now, look at, again, a couple of problems here. The first is, I'm assuming that the copyright striking, and again, this, I think, corroborates what he had to say, was because she was using Sniperwolf content on these new channels and re-uploading old Sniperwolf content on these channels that he didn't own, that only she owned, and trying to make a buck off of it. She's trying to say that that damaged Channel Red. Well, if she's not putting the profits from those new channels into Channel Red and then dividing the profits, how is it hurting Channel Red? The only person it's hurting is Leah, if the funds are going directly into her pocket. It says, in response to the lockout, Shalesh and Channel Red filed a lawsuit. Following a return hearing on a temporary restraining order, Shailesh and Young agreed to a ceasefire deal, and I'll show you that document in a few minutes, and corresponding alternative dispute resolution mechanism to resolve any disputes related to Channel Red. And so they cite to a few of the things from the agreement. It says, Young will provide the username and login credentials to the YouTube channels to allow for mutual administrative access. There will be mutually agreed upon upload schedule. Now, mutually agreed upon upload schedule. So if she's the be all and end all of Sniperwolf and he has nothing really to do with it, she could just upload whenever. He doesn't have to agree to that if they're not creating the content together. So this, to me, again, it doesn't help them. It's like she's basically corroborating what he said about the fact that they both were integral to the creation of the content, with her being the face of the brand and him being the behind the scenes. And so basically to get back to a status quo. And so it says Young will continue to upload videos in good faith. And again, Young will continue to upload videos in good faith. If all he was doing was uploading the video, she doesn't need him to do that. Frankly, she can do it on her own. It says the parties will coordinate regarding posting dates and times in advance. The content will not... Okay, I want to bang my head on the desk. The content will not stray from the standard flow of content and simply allow the business to thrive, avoid any further damages, and uphold the business commitment to all those that are depending on the consistent, professional, and valuable content. Both parties will refrain from sabotaging any video performance by altering past, present, or future upload metadata, upload platform-specific video tags and descriptions. There will be an agreed-upon format that follows the previous patterns. Corroborating that they're both involved in creating this content. He's not just nobody. If there's any disagreement about posting, the parties will attempt to resolve with one another first. And if they can't, within 48 hours of when the other raises the dispute, parties will submit the dispute to Mr. Rob Itkin, some guy, who will hold a telephonic conference on the matter and act as a tiebreaker. So basically like a mediator or an arbitrator. After customary business expenses are paid, money generated from the YouTube channels will be split evenly between the parties without waiving rights as to a reconciliation of funds in the future. The expenses would be for utilities, video editing, content gathering, and does not include any other expenses, including or relating to clothing, wardrobe, travel, jewelry, and vehicles. Those are excerpts from the agreement. They go to great lengths at the beginning of this counterclaim to make him out to be absolutely a nobody without her. And that she is the big star Sniper Wolf, and all of this success is just because of her. Okay? This agreement tends to support, I think, some of the things he had to say or he alleged. Because if they had to create this detailed document with their legal counsel, it's because they're equally important to creating the Sniper Wolf content. Then they go, this is weird. They're like, he breached the ceasefire agreement by bringing the litigation, his lawsuit, without following the dispute resolution mechanisms. Now, I think he's probably going to disagree with that because it sounded to me in his lawsuit like he did try to get this resolved without having to go to court, and she basically gave him the finger. It says Young also continues in his unhinged... They make him sound like a lunatic. It says Young also continues in his unhinged attempts to damage Channel Red and tank the YouTube channels out of spite because of the end of his romantic relationship with Shailesh. Now, okay, again, people, put on our logic cap. Why would he be doing things out of spite when she says right at the very beginning of her lawsuit, he was the first to go to court and file for divorce? If he was so crushed that their relationship came to an end, why the hell would he go off to court and file for divorce? He would be trying to keep them together and reconcile with her. Indeed, in September 2023, Young tried to force YouTube to stop Shailesh and Channel Red from Channel Red's routine operations and Shailesh's speaking engagements, making veiled threats that he would expose Shailesh and destroy the channels. Now, in terms of what he had to say in his lawsuit, he's talking about her doing separate deals on the side, like brand deals and things. And if she's doing things that should be on behalf of the channel where they would both share in the profit, but she's doing it all on her own and cutting him out and not funneling the money through the company like it's supposed to be, of course he would get pissed off. I think I would, and try to stop her from getting these paid gigs that she's not going to share the profits for when she's doing these gigs as the brand. She's not doing them as Leah Shailesh. She's doing them as Sniperwolf, and that's the brand that they both own. Says, Hallie, I know we made YouTube aware of some pending legal troubles In issues of past year, I do feel it a responsibility considering we are one of the biggest brands on the platform. Basically, he's saying that because there's trouble in paradise, he wanted YouTube to have a heads up. He allegedly says, I wanted to give an update regarding the lawsuit I filed against Aaliyah. I hope to have a quick resolution to this, but nothing is for certain. The lawsuit's attached in the event anyone at YouTube Legal needs it. I do have to advise we, SSSniperwolf in parentheses, because they are the brand, it's not just her, should stay out of the spotlight for the foreseeable future. Probably because he knows that if she's going out representing the brand and pocketing the dough without splitting it through the company, he has a right, I think, to ask them not to assist her in that subterfuge. I know that I've been wrongfully excluded from previous talks, like initial VidCon talks and who knows what else in the last year. She's having talked unilaterally with YouTube about events, and they're not including him. So that's wrong. If they're co-owners of the brand, he should be involved in all of the conversations about stuff concerning the brand. The nature of the lawsuit itself and things may come out would ultimately hurt our brand, which could be worse in combination with having Sniperwolf featured in public spotlight for events and public speaking. They're trying to make him sound like he's unhinged and he's trying to damage the brand doing this. That's not like some kind of smoking gun to me. That seems like a pretty tame email. He's basically saying, look, she's been cutting me out of these talks. I should be in on them. I don't think that you should be giving her paid gigs or assisting her with paid gigs when she's not including me and not sharing 50% of the proceeds because we're co-owners of the brand. That doesn't sound unhinged to me. It sounds perfectly logical given what he's alleged. I think that his argument, in my opinion, is a stronger argument. Not only does it make sense, but it's, again, very well put together and it's very detailed. And I'm assuming that they wouldn't have alleged all of those things if they didn't have evidence to back it up. That would be kind of stupid on their part. It says, Young controls the things that may come out. And this is not the first time Young has threatened to expose himself and Shalesh to damage Channel Red. Where does he threaten to expose anyone? It says things may come out. In other words, stuff might leak or who knows where it's going to come from. He's not saying I'm going to tell you things or I'm going to expose her. This argument, they're grasping at straws with all of these arguments, okay? He's not even threatening to expose them. He's saying stuff might come out. Well, you know, we all know how YouTube works and how the whole social media world works. Stuff comes out. He's not saying I'm going to put stuff out there. Over the last year since the ceasefire agreement, Young has performed minimal work for Channel Red. For the past several years, Young has not been involved in anything related to the channels, but adding titles and descriptions. Titles and descriptions? Really? Titling a video and writing a description? Well, nowadays, for crying out loud, you can use AI, literally. So, what, they needed that ceasefire agreement to make sure he was going to do the titles and descriptions that any idiot can do on their own? She could have, well, I don't know, maybe she can't do it. Maybe she doesn't have the talent to create titles and descriptions. On a monthly basis, Young removes half the money from the Channel Red's account without allowing Channel Red to first pay expenses despite the ceasefire agreement, straddling Shalesh with paying Channel Red's expenses from her portion of the account. It says Young does not create any scripts or content for Channel Red. Okay, this was an interesting one. And when I read it last night, this popped out at me. Notice the way they word this. Young does not create any scripts or content for Channel Red. Does not create. Not never created. Not has never created. Does not. So, I mean, that would make sense now because I think that from what I understood with all of this crap that she's putting out now, it doesn't have anything to do with what's happened in the past, which is where he alleges all of that gaming and script writing took place. Young continues to attempt to sabotage brand deals, but then complains when he's not paid half the money from such deals. Again, it's so vague. He's attempting to sabotage. How? How is he doing that? What brand deals? What's the context? There's no context. There's no detail. I have no idea what they're talking. Young's erratic, vindictive, and volatile behavior is causing severe financial damage to Channel Red. No, maybe Sniperwolf getting exposed for basically phoning it in for her latest content is what's hurting the channel. I don't think in my opinion, that Evan Sausage has anything to do. So here are the counts. Count 1, breach of fiduciary duty, and I'll just highlight a couple of things here. Okay, now here's interesting, okay, that she's raising this claim against him, because I think he raised this against her too. Pursuant to this particular statute, Young, as one of Channel Red's managers, owes fiduciary duties to Channel Red, as well as Shailesh, including the following duties of loyalty: to account to the company and hold as trustee for the company any property, profit or benefit derived by the manager to which the manager is not entitled. So that's interesting, because that's what he's alleging she's doing by starting these side channels, reusing content they own together, and basically circumventing the company, which he's saying is a breach of fiduciary duty to the company. And so they're accusing him of this, which I don't know why, because they haven't specified very much. And it says, from use by the manager of the company's property. He alleges she's using content that was created under the Sniperwolf brand. From appropriation of company opportunity, he's saying that she's the one who has gone and tried to make these side brand deals excluding him. I don't see how any of this helps them. This, to me, totally jives with what he has to say. And because they have not specified anything, I don't understand what the context is and why they're raising this, because they really haven't told us anything. And I think it's because they don't have anything to tell us. It says, additionally, pursuant to the statute, Young owes Shailesh the duty of care to refrain from engaging grossly negligent. Okay, grossly negligent as a legal term means the surgeon would have had to have been drunk while he's performing surgery. It has to be, it's a very high bar to be grossly negligent versus just simply negligent. Not only do I not see anything that Sausage has been negligent, but certainly not to rise to the level of being grossly negligent. It says Young violated both duties of loyalty and care by locking Shailesh out of Channel Red's operations and prohibiting her from posting videos to the YouTube channel. Young also continues to violate the duties by attempting to interfere with brand deals and Channel Red's operations because of Young's insistence and continued threats to expose Shailesh and reveal sensitive personal information to destroy the channels. Okay, what are they talking about? They're making this allegation, but in their main body of their counterclaim, they don't tell us anything. What are they talking about? Where did they say he's threatening to expose Shailesh and reveal sensitive information? You can't just put that out there naked by itself without somewhere in this counterclaim having given facts to support it. So if I were him, I would move to dismiss, obviously, the whole counterclaim. And they're saying that his conduct was malicious and done with willful and wanton disregard to the plaintiff's interest, justifying an award of punitive damages sufficient to punish him and deter future similar conduct by him and others. And others. Is there somebody involved in this we're not aware of? Then they want declaratory relief, specifically Shailesh and Channel Red seek a judicial order expelling Young. They have some balls, really. Expelling Young as a member and manager from the Channel Red company under the statute because he has engaged in or is engaging in wrongful conduct that has affected adversely and materially or will affect adversely and materially companies' activities and affairs, committed willfully or persistently, or is committing willfully or persistently a material breach of a duty or obligation, and is engaged or is engaging in conduct relating to the company's activities that makes it not reasonably practicable to carry on the activities and affairs with the person as a member. What are they talking about? Are they talking about that brief period where he locked her out because she was stealing content from the channel? I don't think that rises to a level where the court's going to physically remove him as a 50% owner of the company. I'm sure she would love that, because then she's got it all for herself. And then they accuse him of breaching the ceasefire agreement and the covenant of good faith and fair dealing because he breached the ceasefire agreement. I'm not going to go into all that because it's not really relevant to what we've talked about. Then they've got this count 5 dissolution. Young and Shailesh are deadlocked. Young has acted and continues to act in a manner that is illegal, oppressive, and fraudulent by violating the ceasefire agreement, interfering with their operations. They haven't given us any facts or specifics as to how he's doing this. They've just made a bunch of vague allegations that have no detail or context. I can't. Okay, I'm just going to stop because I can't go on with this. There's one thing I will point out, though. Okay, they want the court to dissolve Channel Red, which is stupid, okay? Alternatively, Shailesh requests the court to appoint a receiver to manage Channel Red. Isn't that what he asked for? I think I'll have to go back and look. But in the lawsuit, didn't he ask as one of the things he wanted from the court for them to appoint a receiver. And they were like poo-pooing everything he was asking for. And now they're asking for a receiver. I can't. There, you know. And then her answer, and the answer we don't need to go through. Answers you'll see here. You either admit or deny or give a reason why you can't admit or deny it, you know, because you don't have enough information, whatever. And if you look, this whole list, she's basically going through all of the counts in his complaint, paragraph by paragraph, and either admitting or denying or giving an explanation of why she's not. That's it. That's what she's alleging. Now, let me show you the actual ceasefire agreement. Okay, so here you got, there was an email, and I've redacted part of this because I don't want to give anyone's personal information away. They went on and on in this vague counterclaim about how he's caused all this damage and caused her to miss, you know, all these opportunities and all of this stuff. The divorce was filed for sometime in October. This agreement is, or this email about the agreement is dated December 20th. So within 2 months, they had resolved, and we don't know exactly when he locked her out because I don't think it says anywhere. It was a brief period. He says so in his complaint. This seems to back that up. Now, mind you, it would have taken weeks, I'm sure, for them to work out the terms and hammer out this agreement and put it down in writing, ready to be signed off on by the parties. So my guess is in the interim, they probably had like a verbal agreement to cease fire, and some of the things contained in this agreement were put in place prior to the actual final version. As he alleged, there couldn't have been a very long period of time that she was locked out. All this whining and complaining they're doing in this counterclaim about how he's cost them so many opportunities and caused all this damage to the channel, when in fact it looks to me, in my opinion and in my experience, that it probably wasn't very long. What did Shakespeare see? A lot of sound and fury signifying nothing? I seriously doubt, and I'll go and look, whether there just was no activity on the Sniperwolf channel during this period. I kind of find that hard to believe. I think that this is really lame. Just like her gaslighting motion to dismiss was absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, I don't see that she's got a big leg to stand on here, because number one, the counterclaim is seriously lacking in facts and detail. I think it's very susceptible to a motion to dismiss, and I'm sure he'll file one, or his attorneys will file one, and I'll be interested to see if they get all or part of this counterclaim knocked out and thrown out by the court. I'm guessing yes. Kurt's crying because he wants some attention. So anyways, let me know what you guys think down below. I'm really not a big fan of Sniperwolf. I mean, I'm not a fan of Sausage either. I really could give a rat's ass about either of them. I think her motion to dismiss is going to get shot down because I don't think the judge is going to buy their gaslighting argument. And something tells me either part or all of this counterclaim will get dismissed as well. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know down in the comments down below. Thank you again to all you guys who have been so generous to the cats. Thank you for sending that stuff. If you want to send something, the link is down below to their Amazon wishlist. Thank you to all of our Patreon patrons. Thank you so much for your monthly support. I know I say this every time, but we really appreciate you. We appreciate all of our channel members. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. I will be posting another video shortly. In the interim, take care of yourselves, love one another, and I will see you in the next one.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.